Dr. Rebecca Chambers is an advisor for the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance and a former rookie member of the Special Tactics and Rescue Service assigned to SDRS Bravo team, being charged of medical needs due to her extensive knowledge in biochemistry. A child prodigy, Chambers entered university at a young age and graduated with a bachelor's degree in chemistry at 18. Scouted for her talents by various groups, she found herself picked for the Special Tactics and Rescue Service, the Special Forces Division of the Raccoon Police Department. Assigned to the Bravo team in June 1998, Chambers officially served as the unit's medic and rear security alongside Edward Dewey, with whom she developed a close and playful friendship due to her youth and inexperience. Fellow officer Richard Aiken was assigned as her training instructor to look after her on missions. Rebecca also joined the department's intramural basketball team due to being an avid fan of the sport, to the point that she always played with her friends on holidays. Chambers joined SDRS during a difficult period for the Raccoon Police Department. Since May 20th, the police have been investigating a series of animal attacks and cannibalistic murders taking place somewhere in Raccoon Forest, but in particular, the section of the Arkley Mountains in the city's northwest. Failing to establish any suspects in mid-July, the RPD formally assigned SDRS to the case. On the night of Thursday, July 23rd, Bravo team took off in a Bell UH, one Iroquois, and flew northwest into the Arkley Mountains. Soon after 2,200 hours, the helicopter experienced engine difficulties and was forced to make an emergency landing in the forest. This was later determined to be the result of sabotage, but was unknown at the time. In the initial search of the area, the team discovered a wrecked MP wagon, which was overturned while transporting a prisoner for execution. Marine Second Lieutenant Billy Cohen, the prisoner, was not among the bodies and was immediately suspected of killing the two MPs. Consequently, the team changed their focus to searching for Cohen, while RPD pilot Kevin duly remained in the helicopter. In the dark of the forest, Bravo team became scattered during their search and, soon after, were attacked by a group of Cerberuses that had been looming in the woods. Dooley was killed immediately, with Dewey suffering severe injuries from a mauling. Chambers, meanwhile, found herself separated from Aiken, discovering a private train for her umbrella employees. The Ecliptic Express sat mysteriously in the wilderness. Captain Enrico Marini, Kenneth J. Sullivan, Forrest Beyer, and Aiken took shelter in the Spencer Mansion and engaged in limited contact with Chambers. During her initial search of the train, Chambers discovered that its occupants had mutated into zombies, having been infected by leeches during an attack on their train 2 hours prior. Dewey himself later mutated into a zombie, after passing out in front of Chambers in what she assumed was dead. Cohen himself was found to be on the train and was willing to cooperate with Chambers in escaping the death trap, but refused to hand himself in. The train was soon after commandeered by Delta Team, a unit of the Umbrella Security Service, but they were attacked and infected by leeches after powering the train up. The accounts differ on the action the two took when the train went out of control, with one stating that Cohen and Chambers were forced to turn on the train's brakes, while in another, they were entirely taken by surprise by the event. Whatever happened, the brakes were pulled too late to save the train from derailing as it pulled into the train station below the Executive Training Center. But they survived the ordeal. Now on new ground, the two explored the expansive train facility and its laboratory, uncovering brief dark moments in the facility's history, such as the use of O.W.S. 23, the directors developing insanity, and the growing rivalry between two employees, one of whom had the same first name as the head of SDRS. The two would find trouble several times, however, leading to Chambers being attacked by an enormous centipede and nearly falling to her death after being attacked by a monkey. Fortunately, Cohen arrived in time to save her life. Afterward, Chambers, having doubts about the charges against Cohen, questioned him. Cohen revealed that operating under false information, his unit made their way to an African village believed to be used as a terrorist training ground, but it was full of innocent civilians. Unwilling to go back empty-handed, Cohen's commanding officer ordered the villagers' executions and used Cohen as a scapegoat. They then soon uncovered further dark deeds, such as human experimentation. After starting up an underground gondola, Cohen pushed Chambers out of the way of an attacking Eliminator, the two falling into the waters below. On her own, Chambers made it to the other side. where she found Captain Enrico. Telling him about losing Cohen, Enrico agrees to let her look for him, as long as she is careful. 30 after this, he heads back to his team's meeting point. On her way to an elevator, the steel shutter behind her closed, and a monster attacked from behind the rubble, defeating the beast. She went down the elevator and found Cohen in the water below. After activating Facilities Dam, the two found each other, but to their horror, the bones of many people used in the director's experiments had been thrown around where they were standing. 33 determined to get out of the place alive, the two fought insurmountable odds before reaching the exit. There, they found the director, James Marcus, unusually youthful looking for an elderly man. The doctor explained to them that his gruesome death at the hands of Umbrella and with his trusting students Albert and William, and his rebirth from his leeches, he is the man who spread the T-virus. The doctor suddenly began to vomit out leeches before mutating into a sickening leech-like foe. Although he seemed impervious to firearms, Chambers and Cohen quickly discovered that Marcus was vulnerable to sunlight. Cohen baited Marcus, while Chambers was opening the roof hatch, eventually exposing Marcus to the light of day. Chambers tossed Cohen a magnum, who fired at the creature in its weakened state, killing it. The monster plummeted down a cargo elevator shaft, while flames went up as the facility's auto-destruct timer ended. The two escaped just before the training facility exploded. Afterward, Chambers and Cohen climbed atop a hill overlooking the ruins, where she took Cohen's dog tag, a symbol of the soldier's death, offering to give a false report, officially declaiming Cohen dead, and offering him a chance for freedom and a new life. The two gave each other one final salute as Cohen disappeared into the trees. Looking down the cliff edge, Chambers sought to reconnect with the remaining members of her team and took notice of the mansion in the distance, which she remembered Enrico having mentioned as the group rendezvous point. After splitting up with Cohen, Chambers reached the mansion later that day after barely surviving the dangerous trek through the wilderness, only to find the mansion completely vacant. 39, tired from her experiences, she fell asleep in one of the servant dormitory's bedrooms. On the evening of July 24th, she had recurring nightmares regarding a giant snake and was eventually awoken by fellow Bravo team member Aiken. The two searched the grounds for Marini, whom they relied on for safety after the team split up. However, due to a heightened amount of web spinners, the two were forced to abort the search of the grounds and went into Mansion, unaware that their captain would soon come into the dark tunnels near the spider's den. Upon arriving at the mansion and fending off some monsters, she and Aiken began to realize the events at the mansion were connected to the Arkley murders they had been investigating, so they agreed that they needed to focus on survival first and foremost. While navigating around the mansion, she and Aiken also witnessed Sergei Vladimir and Ivan carrying a body bag towards the woods, causing them to become suspicious of the entire affair. After being attacked by a flock of crows, which Aiken scared away with gunshots, Chambers wondered if she and Aiken were the only members of Bravo team left. However, their conversation was short-lived when they were ambushed by a giant snake. They were forced to flee, eventually managing to temporarily evade via the hallways. They encountered the snake again in the attic library. After a lengthy battle, Aiken shoved her out of the way when the snake went after her. She hesitated to shoot the snake out of risk of hitting Aiken, instead deciding to aim for the lower body. This irritating enough to spit out Aiken and flee. Aiken told her to have hope that someone would rescue them, but Chambers was struggling with the feeling that their situation was hopeless. Alpha Team was sent to rescue Bravo Team, and Chambers was found by Alpha Team member Chris Redfield, whose team faced a similar problem to that of Bravo Team. Aiken would give Redfield his radio so he could call for help, not knowing that it was broken. Note 3: eventually, the two uncovered that the Alpha Team leader, Albert Weskier, was the one who masterminded the deaths of several SDRS members and was personally responsible for Enrico Marini's assassination, leaving Chamber as the only survivor of her team. She also was shot by him, but she survived due to her bulletproof vest. After awakening the monstrous tyrant, T-002 model, Weskier was swiftly impaled by its claws, dying temporarily while the other survivors retreated. After escaping it, Redfield and Chambers, along with Alpha Team members Jill Valentine and Barry Burton, headed up for the heliport after the mansion's auto-destruct was activated. The creature would heal from its wounds and attack the surviving SDRS mercilessly. Luckily, Alpha Team's pilot, Brad Vickers, flew over and dropped a rocket launcher to be used on the monster. After the beast was eradicated by the explosive missile, the four escaped with Brad back home, and Rebecca fell asleep on the helicopter floor. Upon her return to work after a brief hospitalization, Chambers wrote her report on the incident in which she lied about Cohen's death to stop a further manhunt for him. After that, she left Raccoon City before the T-virus outbreak that consumed the city in September 1998. Sometime after the Raccoon City destruction incident, Chambers continued with her university education to achieve a doctorate in the field of virology, intent on helping her more combat-experienced friends in a support capacity as the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance was formed over time. During this period, she would be invited by Redfield to join the organization as a consultant, something she would come to accept. Posteriorly, when a T-virus strain spread across St. Cloud, Minnesota, and Rochester in 2005, Chambers took part in its defense. She saved police officer Tyler Howard from the zombies, teaching him to aim for the head to kill the infected, and worked with him during the outbreaks. By 2010, Dr. Chambers was employed as a university lecturer alongside her job as a BSA advisor. This dual role allowed her the use of university laboratories to continue her work. In that year, she received orders to infiltrate Philosophy University in philosophy, Western Australia, as a science professor, to investigate a series of missing person cases the BSA believed were related to bioweapons. Dr. Chambers' investigation led to her first suspect, Dr. Liam Howard, an American who shared a name with an umbrella researcher who disappeared in 2003. The investigation was short-lived due to a T-virus outbreak, and the BSA team on standby was called in, consisting of Captain Redfield, Piers Nivens, and Sophie Holm. As the day went on, the full extent of Dr. Howard's research became evident. He was secretly working with the university chancellor to abduct students to be genetically altered with intelligence-regulating genes to make them smarter. Mary Gray was the only successful candidate, with the others having become zombies. Dr. Howard had also been taking part in an unauthorized experiment at the university lab, having used genes taken from the Irish giant remains from a museum with the hopes of in some way resurrecting his son, Tyler, who he believed dead at Rochester. The outbreak was ended only with the use of explosives after Gray, having become mentally unstable since the experimentation on her, mutated into a more powerful mutant. Sometime after the bioterror attacks of 2013, Chambers had been researching the cure for a new strain of virus developed by bioterrorist Glenn Arias. The research was conducted at the Alexander Institute of Biotechnology in Chicago. During the research, Maria Gomez attacked the facility, infecting all employees but Chambers thanks to her prototype vaccine. Redfield and his BSA soldiers arrived just in time to save Chambers from the infected. Having learned that the mysterious virus strain bore similarities to the Los Plagas parasite used by Los Illuminados, Chambers accompanied Redfield to meet with DSO agent Leon Scott Kennedy to enlist his help. Nadia and Damien asked Chambers why she quit her law enforcement career to become a scientist. Chambers replied that while Redfield fought bioterrorism with his muscle, she fought them with her knowledge. Distraught at Redfield and Kennedy immediately quarreling upon their arrival, Chambers angrily chastised both men, revealing that the virus Arias used was already within the bodies of people everywhere and simply needed to be activated by an external trigger. Leaving behind a sample of her vaccinated blood and a laptop full of data on vaccine production, she left with disgust. It was at this time that Maria and Diego Gomez kidnapped her and took her to Arias' New York hideout. Chambers awakens to be confronted by Arias, having ordered her to be taken alive. As the two talk, Chambers reveals all she has learned about the A virus, which impressed her captor. Arias then reveals his motives for capturing Chambers, as she resembled Arias' deceased bride-to-be, Sarah. Arias attempts to put Sarah's wedding band onto Chambers' hand, but her resistance leads him to decide that he will put Sarah's arm on Chambers instead. Using Chambers' blood, a stronger strain of the A virus is conceived, with Chambers involuntarily becoming the first test subject. She is told that she will have 20 minutes until the strain takes full effect, and leaves her guarded as he makes his way to the roof. Following an encounter with Redfield fighting Diego and a surgeon, Redfield saves Chambers, however with the A virus still in her system. The two then travel to the roof to confront Arias, with Chambers' condition worsening by the second. Soon after the confrontation, Chambers tells Redfield he must kill her as time is running short, but Redfield declined. Chambers looks onward at the fight as Kennedy, Redfield, and Redfield's unit. The Silver Dagger battles the Diego/Arias BOW hybrid. With the battle won thanks to everyone's combined efforts, Redfield administers the cure to Chambers, saving her life. The three reflect on their survival from yet another horror, as they release the cure into the air around the affected parts of New York. Chambers recalls the last time she and Redfield shared a helicopter ride together, and how it all felt very similar to back then. A year after the New York bioterrorist attack, mysterious murder cases sprouted around San Francisco City, with 12 victims lost their lives. Chambers assisted Redfield and newly recovered Jill Valentine in their joint investigation alongside San Francisco Police Department, as well as Claire Redfield with a brutally slaughtered orca washed ashore the beach. As Chambers was conducting research, Redfield visited with Chambers, giving him updates relating to the corpses that had been brought in and analyzed. All have no bite wounds and left needle marks on their body, and were infected with an advanced strain of T virus unable to transmit through saliva or airborne. Redfield confided in Chambers about the defiant Valentine, with a former reason her defiance was a result of her guilt manifesting and her desire for atonement for her actions in Kajuju 6 years prior. Afterwards, Claire arrived and briefed Chambers, Valentine, and Redfield about her findings on the beach. The chipped orca had been swimming around Greater Farallone's National Marine Sanctuary, where whales had gone missing around the vicinity of Alcatraz Island, with its carcass containing strains of T virus similar to the victims. With Claire's findings, Chambers discovers the link in which victims had been visiting to Alcatraz shortly before their demise. Finding their next lead, the Redfields and Valentine head to the site, while Chambers stay behind to continue working on the vaccine to counter the new strain, while also acting as their mission liaison. Afterwards, Chambers was unable to contact with the group for 2 hours and was left in the dark. Sometime after, Chambers discovers Kennedy was also working on a case related to Alcatraz and contacted FOS agent Ingrid Hunnigan, who informed her the Department of Defense's database was hacked and its confidential information about bioterror incidents since Raccoon City alongside files on the Redfields, Valentine, and Kennedy. Knowing the group was in trouble, Chambers set out to assist and rescue. Coordinating with SAP's SWAT, Chambers packed her vaccine case and go to Alcatraz, where they were attacked by a bow shark megalodon, which wiped out the whole crew except Chambers, who made it to the prison's sewage tunnel. On her way, Chambers bumped into Valentine, who directed her to the prison compound and cured the others as they were infected with the virus, while she headed to the armory to confront the mastermind Dylan Blake. Chambers arrived in time to cure the weakened Kennedy and the Redfields of their afflictions. All of them set off to the armory, where they were reunited with Valentine and confronted Blake, who had infected himself and fused with Megalodon, creating a monstrous entity. They used 5 caches of weapons against the creature, but did little to no damage. Kennedy tells Claire, who had obtained Dr. Antonio Taylor's backdoor code, to accompany Chambers to stop the mosquito drone's release. At the console, the two worked together to input the code and successfully regain control of drones, which carried viral doses of T-virus. Before Redfield could terminate the drones, Chambers told her to redirect them to the creature to scramble and destabilize its DNA. This action greatly weakened the creature, opening for Valentine, Kennedy, and Redfield to attack. The mutated Blake died with their combined efforts as Chambers and Redfield celebrated their successful attempt of preventing another outbreak. Outside, the group reminisced about their time before reinforcements arrived and evacuated them from the premises.